Hey, are you construction champions? It's Ron Newsbaum, and we're here for another week with another fantastic guest. Now, me and Josh just recently met each other in the Contractors Helping Contractors Facebook group. He's a rock star that I see on there helping other people all the time, and I reached out to have him come on the show. Josh, it's great to have you here today.
Thank you so much, Ron. I really appreciate it. And yeah, this was pretty quick getting in the group last week, and then all of a sudden here we are today. So I appreciate that.
Hey, when you're doing amazing things and I see people out there helping others move along that road, those are the people I want around me. Those are the people I want on the show talking about what they're doing and the magic that they're making out there. So, hey, Josh, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background so the listeners can become familiar with who you are as well?
Sure. So my name is Joshua Page. I'm a husband, I'm a father, and an entrepreneur, first of all. I'm also a TEDx speaker. I'm a published children's book author with the book, What Does Your Daddy Do? Which is getting kids involved with the trades. I own 3 electrical contracting companies in Massachusetts. I'm also a proud C and D student. I didn't get any grades higher than a C. I was suspended 3 out of my 4 years in high school, and I never went to college. And I'd have to say with 16 employees, we do probably $2 million a year in electrical work. I think we're doing pretty well without college. So for everyone that's listening, college is not the only option. You do not need to go to college to be successful in America.
I think that's a great message there because I mean, all too often we do hear, in order to run a company or do this or that, yeah, you have to have this college education and have great grades, but that's not really what it comes down to. There's a lot of stuff that does implement to, but I'm a high school educated individual. I didn't go to college. I mean, I went to the Marine Corps. So that education itself's a little bit different, Josh.
Yeah.
But I love the success that you're having, what you're doing with the employees and, just building that company. That's amazing. We had a little bit of time to be able to talk there. I can't wait to dive into everything you're doing from writing the book to leading your company down the road here in 2023. But let's get started by asking the $1 million question is what makes a construction champion and what does it take to be one here in 2023?
So in 2023, you need to make your employees feel felt. You have to listen to them, and you have to let them know that you're there to create a vision that doesn't yet exist. If you're building a company with your one-man show, or you've got a few employees out there right now, you cannot run this company the same way that you did in January of 2020. There's just no way. The world and the universe has shifted since COVID, since 2020. Whether you like it or not, I think COVID actually did a lot of good for us. I think there was a lot of bad. Obviously, there was a lot of things going on, but the universe shifted for all of us. And people are not going to put up with stuff that we used to do in the trades, even in 2020, even before that. You cannot be screaming and yelling at your people. You can't be telling them they have to do this, they have to do that, they have to stay late. There's no choice. It's just not going to fly. You're going to lose all your people extremely fast. And I know there's a lot of business owners that will probably listen to this and, maybe they'll disagree, maybe they'll agree, but I'm telling you right now, you can't. You have to be empathetic. And honestly, I didn't know what that word meant until probably about 5 years ago. But you have to be empathetic to other people's needs and figure out where they're at and then work around it. I have one employee that some days he has to bring his kid to school and some days he doesn't have to. So some days he can come in at 8, some days he can come in at 9:30. What am I supposed to do? Tell him, no, you have to be here at 8 o'clock every single day? He's going to say, unfortunately, I can't, and I'm going to leave. So we're very family driven. I get it. I have 3 kids of my own, 2 that are me and my wife. We have 2 boys, and then we took guardianship of she's now 18, but it was my 15-year-old niece in 2020. We took guardianship. So I get it. Things are going to come up. And I don't want any of my employees missing any baseball games or basketball games or anything else because of work, so we try to work around it as much as possible. But I think mostly I feel everyone's still very confused out there. They don't know how to really lead at home. They don't know how to lead at work. They don't know how to lead as a coach, even in, their kids' basketball or whatever sports. And I think they need someone to look up to, and you need to be that person. And you need to notice when they're not quite right. It's like something's going on. Like, what's up with Steve today? What's up with Earl? Maybe I should go and talk to him. Before, you'd be like, no, forget it. Like, he just needs to work. Like, I don't care if his dog died last week. He needs to go to work. He needs to produce. We need to make money. We need to make profit. It's not going to work anymore. I'm telling you right now, you have to be empathetic. You have to let them know that, hey, if you have something going on, I'm here for you. Like, not as an employer, not as a friend. I'm just here. Like, if you just want to talk, if you just want to like scream and yell, if you just want to, bitch and moan and complain, I'm here. Let's do it. And what's going to happen when you start to make that shift is people are going to feel a deeper connection. They're not going to know why, but they're going to feel a deeper connection to you and be like, all right, you know what? This dude's here for me. Like, I'm going to be here for him, or whatever it is that you're doing. I just think we need to be a lot more empathetic and making people feel felt, because there's just so much confusion and anxiety in the world still that people don't really know where they belong, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What would you say to the people that would disagree with that? How do we start to get people on board with that message in the construction industry?
I think you should go ahead and try to find out, and then you'll be left with one person in your company. It's going to be you, because people aren't going to do it. They're just not. We saw a major shift that I noticed in my company, along with just kind of keeping my eyes and ears open during 2020. And during 2020, we were a little scared. We were frightened. We didn't know what was going to happen in the world. Construction seemed to still pick up, especially in 2021. A lot of stuff, everyone was home, everyone's working from home, everyone's getting paid, everyone's making a lot of money. It's like, all right, we're going to do our kitchen over, a remodel or addition or whatever. So everyone had all this money. So employees didn't want to make more money because they already had enough money. What I was starting to notice is that people wanted more time, because I think they've realized with COVID and everything else happening in the world that life is very short, and they wanted more time, and they didn't really care when it came. It was, I'm going to come in late today because I'm bringing my kid to school, or I'm going to leave early today because I've got to go to my daughter's recital. And you're like, well, you're going to make like $100 an hour, $150 an hour on overtime and this and that. And they're like, yeah, I really don't care. I want time. 2022, I think I saw a little bit more of that as well. 2023, the end of 2022 to 2023 now, it feels like people are starting to want money again, because we're getting a little worried about the economy. But I still think time is a big major aspect for employees. They just want time, whether that's more vacation time or sick time or leaving early, or maybe working 4/12s and having Friday off or something, whatever, or 4/10s and having Friday off. Whatever it is, you've got to be flexible. And I think a major industry that has nothing to do with construction, but a major industry that I think felt this was the restaurant industry. Because if you weren't flexible to the customer's needs, you failed. But the restaurants that found a way to do takeout or delivery, or, hey, my restaurant's closed, but we can still, maybe we can have alcoholic drinks outside or outside seating or something. Those restaurants seem to do very well. Everyone that was very rigid and not flexible, they're not even open anymore. And I think in the construction industry, we have to do the same thing. We have to be flexible.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you're running 3 companies and creating this flexibility in your culture to be able to do this. And I know, the pushback that I could hear is like, we're not going to be able to hit on numbers and stuff. How are you addressing that and still hitting your goals as you continue to grow these companies and hire people? how do you create that culture of flexibility, but at the same time create that profitability that comes with having a business?
So before 2020, right? Everyone's, have to work hard. You got to do this. We have to make our numbers. We only had 50 hours for the project. You're at 45. I'm going to write you up, whatever else. It doesn't work anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So what I figured out a way is to reward for good behavior that I want done. All right. So have you ever heard the Pavlov's dogs? You ever heard that story of Pavlov?
Yes.
So
But I don't know if our listeners have.
yeah,
So
so
dive into that a little bit.
real simple and quick. The way that the story goes is Pavlov would notice that every time he would feed his dogs, they would start to drool because they were getting fed. So then eventually he would ring a bell and feed his dogs, and his dogs would drool. And then he took the food away, but rang the bell and still noticed that his dogs would drool. So what we do is we want to reward good behavior. So what I do is with a profit and loss sheet that I've created over the years, and it's actually another separate business that I have called Contractor Money Blueprint.com, and that helps contractors increase their cash flow, their profit margins, and to truly know their numbers. What we do is, if my employees, and this number works for me, it might not work for everyone, but if my employees when they do a project and we come in at 35% or more net profit, which is absolute, that's it. Everything else is paid, materials paid, labor's paid, everything's done. If it comes in at 35% or more, I give them 5% of that profit. So it makes them want to work that much harder without being down their throat that they need to work that much harder. So I reward them. And the way that I reward them is that 5% bonus, but I also put it in a gold envelope. And the reason for the gold envelope is because I want them to start to drool. I want them to see the gold envelope and know that that's a bonus. And more importantly, I want other employees to see that gold envelope and wonder why they're not receiving a gold envelope. Because that gold envelope has a live check in it. We don't do direct deposit on the bonuses. We want them to have a live check that they have to physically go to the bank in cash or deposit, because there's something psychologically in our brains that puts that with money, with reward, with working harder. This is what it is. And it's something to show off. They could show their girlfriends, their wives, their husbands, whatever it is. So any chance that I can reward good behavior for stuff that I want, that's what I do. I try not, honestly, I probably have yelled once or twice in the last 12 years of my employees. I don't yell, I teach. Something goes wrong. Just like yesterday, something went wrong with one of our generators. I took pictures, I sent a text, I talked to my electrician about it. This is what we should have done. This is how we're going to move forward. Okay, great. Sorry about that. Was the customer happy? Yeah, no problem. I handled it. It's a learning, everyone's learning. We're educating each other. I'm not perfect, and neither are they. So you can't demand perfection, but we can learn from each other, and we can educate and then reward for the good behaviors that you want.
I love the gold envelope and giving that check out that way, because we really do with direct deposit and everything. Everything becomes so transactional, that pay, and like all you really see is you're giving up your time and then money shows up in your account. Like there's not that correlation of it ever really being real. But given that bonus in that envelope adds a realness to it. And then, like you said, the ability to be able to go and brag about it, show it to your wife, your girlfriend, your friends, other people that you work with of, hey, yeah, here, I got my gold envelope. Where's yours? And I can see how that creates a culture of what you're talking about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It does wonders. Even I got the idea from a good friend of mine, Derek Acker, which is in the contractors Facebook group too, but he does a prize wheel at every single month. They do a prize wheel, and he gives out prizes. So, $100 Home Depot gift cards, or, a day off or whatever else. So we came up with almost the same thing where we reward good behavior. So you get a ticket for every day that you don't call out of work, or you get a ticket for every day for every project that you got a bonus on, or if you filled out your notes correctly, or if you filled out your driving log correctly, you get a ticket. And at the beginning of every month, we have a prize wheel, and I set a budget of like $400 in prizes, and then we put that on the board. So whoever is doing what I want to be done gets a ticket, and then they win prizes. It's fun. It's interactive. It's different. And, there's some good prizes there, but it's rewarding good behavior instead of constantly pointing the finger at bad behavior, because who likes to get the finger pointed at them? It makes you feel like you're sitting in the principal's office. Like nobody likes that, but we do enjoy praise for good behavior, right?
Yeah, absolutely. How did I love what you're talking about there and what you're doing. How did the implementation go? Like when you first started rolling this stuff out, how was that received? Because a lot of times we can see kind of a negative of opinion from employees when we start to roll stuff out. And how do you stay consistent with it? And how do you have that? How have you built that culture? I guess would be the question I'm asking to get right into it.
Yeah. So for the gold envelopes, I always had this sheet that I created for my own business. That way I knew if I was profitable on every single project or not. And then I was just thinking about it. I said, there's got to be a way that I can start rewarding them. How else can I do it? So I came up with a figure that of 35%. Like if it's over 35%, I'm giving up 5% to my employees if they do well. So I still have 30% profit still left in that project. But I think as employers and business owners is we forget the value of a $20 bill or $100 bill, right? If we're dealing with thousands of dollars every single week or millions of dollars every single year, we kind of lose the value of a $100 bill, right? I know that might sound like, I don't know the word, but it might sound like we're like this big rich people. We're not, but it doesn't have the same value. But when you give an employee $100 bill or a $200 check or a $500 check for doing their job, they didn't really do anything more. I mean, yeah, they worked harder, right? But all of a sudden, a week later or 2 weeks later, after that project's done, and then all of a sudden they have a check for $487, they're like, oh my God. And it's a real live check. Like that's a lot of money to them, a lot of money. Even an extra $80 is a lot of money, So it took a little bit, but I think once we started handing out the checks and saying, hey, or even before the checks, we talked about the projects. I said, hey, if you do this project instead of 50 hours, you do it in 28 hours, you're going to get a bonus. Well, now they have something to strive for. They have something to work towards. So that helped a lot. The prize wheel, it was kind of funny because based on my friend Derek, he wanted me to, for anyone who got the least amount of tickets, you had to have a Kermit the Frog puppet, and you had to talk like Kermit the Frog for the whole meeting. And so I heard through the grapevine of my own employees that they said, I'm not going to wear that stupid puppet. And, if I'm wearing the puppet, then I guess it says whatever it wants because the puppet has its own mind. So I can say whatever I want in the meeting. And I'm like, oh God, here we go. So I ixnayed the puppet. So I was like, I'm not even going to give them the chance to ruin this. But the prizes are fun. To be honest, I spent like $250 on some really good prizes last week. And then I literally bought like a $10 grilled cheese maker, and everyone wanted the stupid $10 grilled cheese maker from Walmart. I'm like, what is going on? Nobody cared about the $90 hole saw or the Sawzall blades or the $100 Five Guys gift card. Like they wanted the $10 stupid grilled cheese maker. I don't know.
Well, sometimes you just can't predict what's going to be the popular thing, but
yeah.
I love what you're talking about and being proactive with the listening and understanding like that you're hearing this isn't going to be received well. And then you just pull that element out, but continue with the grand vision of what you want to have implemented and continue on with that. So I have to ask, the kids book, what was the motivation for that? And I love that. I have a 4-year-old son. He loves construction because he's been brought up around that. But what was the driving force to write the kids book?
Yeah, so I've been doing a lot of career day speaking for probably the last 5 or 6 years, and it's always been with high schoolers. There's usually you got 30 minutes to speak. There's usually about 15 of them in the class, and I loved it. We interacted a lot. I would tell my whole backstory, which I haven't even said in here yet. We don't have the time for it, but it felt good. But then I would leave and I'm like, I don't think I'm making a big enough of an impact. I think only like 4 kids from there are really listening to me. I wanted to make a bigger impact. So I started thinking about writing a book, and I started thinking about the high schoolers. I started thinking about my wife's daycare, and I was like, high school's too old. Daycare kids are too young. 7th and 8th grade is that awkward time of puberty and liking girls and boys. And, it's kind of awkward. I'm like, you know what? I think 3rd to 6th grade is like, that's a perfect age to plant the seed in a young mind about the trades. Because everyone knows about a doctor, firemen, police officers, but nobody even knows what a carpenter is unless you literally had somebody in your family. If you had an aunt, an uncle, a grandfather that worked with wood or was a carpenter, then you know what that job is. But otherwise, no one talks about the trades. No one knows about that. So then COVID hit and we shut down the company for 2 weeks, and I can't sit still. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to write this book. So I wrote the book, and then I said, this sucks. This is awful. And I just saved it on Microsoft Word. And then in 2021, I came across it again. I was like, oh, what's this? So I started reading it, and just something in my mind said, you know what, Josh, this book isn't for you, no matter how much you think it sucks. This book is for that young boy or young girl that's confused, that doesn't know what they want to do, that wants to learn more, and maybe could be the next best electrician or the next best plumber. And I said, you know what? I'm putting it out there. So I put it out to edit. I put it out to a publisher, and we got picked up. And it came out June of 2022. It's done really, really well. And my second book just got picked up from the same publisher. It's What Does Your Mommy Do? And it's about a mom that's an electrician, and she's telling all the kids at career day at school what an electrician does, but as a mom, as a female perspective instead of the dad.
I love it. And that it's so true when you talk about, everybody knows what doctors and lawyers and all of like those other areas, everybody knows what they do and everything. But construction's the backbone of America, and people don't even understand as they grow up what that is unless you're around somebody that's what they do. And it's pretty amazing.
Because college is shoved down all of our throats from a very young age, that the entryway to success is college. You must attend college to be successful. You don't, otherwise you're gonna be a loser. What do you want to work in the trades? You want to be a janitor? Like it's always college, college, college. And that's not just in the United States, because I've done podcasts in Paris. I've been on an Instagram live with Muslim moms in Europe, and then also in Egypt. And this is a worldwide issue, that nobody talks about the trades. No one talks about getting it. It's always college, 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 higher education, higher education. You must be a doctor to be successful. You must go to college to be successful. And, the student loan debt right now in the United States is $1.3 trillion. Trillion, and half of these kids will come out of college and still not know what they want to do. It's so sad, and college. The reason why I say college is not the only option, because we do need people to go to college to become doctors, accountants, lawyers. We need all that. You don't want this guy to be your heart surgeon, right? We need that. But for the kids that aren't going to college, that college is not for them, that they like to climb trees when they were younger, or fix their dirt bike or whatever else. Okay, well, now here's another option. Like I always say, you want to go to college, great. Want to go to military, awesome, fully support you. If you want to get a job, that's okay. But what about, hey, you like building with Legos, why don't you become a plumber or a carpenter? Or you like doing makeup or something, why don't you go to cosmetology? Like, all of these trades exist, but no one talks about them. No one knows about them.
Yeah, absolutely. I love what you're talking about. Today, it has been fantastic having you on. You truly have a great mission and a great outlook on everything. And I love what you're doing at your company. And, I can just see it in my mind when those golden envelopes come out, what that morale is like at your company. It's got to be absolutely amazing, Josh.
They love it. They love it.
So where can people find you if they're wanting to connect with you or have a conversation? Where's the best place for people to reach out to Josh?
So I'm all over the place. So you can hit me up on Facebook. You can buy the book from Amazon. What does your daddy do? You can check out my other business, which is contractormoneyblueprint.com, which is helping small contractors to know their numbers, truly know their numbers, stop competing against themselves, increase their cash flow, increase their profits. I'll give you my email address. We'll do jp@joshuapage.pro. And I look forward to it. I hope everyone listening gets a lot out of this. And I appreciate Ron for inviting me on here, and just thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for being a guest. And all you construction champions out there, Josh's information will be in the show notes. Don't hesitate to reach out or go check out what he has going on. There was a lot of fire that was dropped in today's episode, and we would love it if you would like and subscribe and share Construction Champions with everybody out there, because at the end of the day, we can't have the impact that we're going to have throughout the entire industry without each other and opening the doors so we can have these conversations. So until next Monday, go out there and be a construction champion.